welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys and girls, I'm a retired New York City police detective with 20 plus years of law enforcement. And if you like all things true crime related from the police perspective, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace. He'll be joining us in a short period of time. He is in Utah on assignment. I took the day off because I am not actually feeling 100% today. I was up late last night with everything that was going on, and it was a busy day yesterday. So I had to take the day off from work. So I'm home in the studio. Casey White, Vicky White, we know she has passed away. Casey White, the press conference, he was booked in early this morning around 1 in the morning. Brian Enton has been doing some unbelievable coverage. Here's a look at his booking photo as we all have seen it. But I want to say, again, thank you to everybody who has positively engaged, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, my moderators. The DutyRon mod squad is top notch. My replay viewers, all of you guys, the new subscribers, you guys are badass. So thank you so much for subscribing and engaging and interacting. Here's the booking photo of Casey White. I'm going to try to see if we can make it bigger. So I'll go full screen on it. We're waiting for a press conference out of Evansville, Indiana, shortly after 12 noon, my time, 11 Central. So that's what we got. There's the booking photo. That's the face of evil, folks. I just wanted to put that out there so you guys could see it. By a show of hands here, who enjoyed the coverage late night last night? We went over the police radio scanner live replay of actually the on-air conversations between the police and EMS and all the things that were going on behind the scenes that you don't get to see on a regular basis. We went over that last night, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. We are waiting the press conference to begin. As soon as it begins, I'm checking on Brian Enton's page. I'm also on another page just checking out what's going on here. I'm just keeping an eye out. But so as we know, okay, there's going to be an autopsy performed on Vicky White, right? So there'll be an autopsy. They are going to determine exactly how she succumbed to a gunshot wound, self-inflicted, as the dispatchers said, but the forensics and the police department, they won't just take that for for a complete answer. They're going to be looking to get to the bottom of everything that's everything that happened. So they're going to they're going to go and do an investigation. So I wanted to just show you a little bit of what I got going on. Let's see if I can play. Yeah, okay. So I'll show it that way. That is a live was a live look yesterday at the scene. Beyond those Dodge Ram trucks, those are the U.S. Marshals, as you see them there. They have the badges are the stars. It's kind of like a starred badge. So the Marshals are in the background there. They were in charge of the apprehension and taking them into custody. The local sheriffs did a great job of helping out. As you can see, this is a look in yesterday at the location, just right outside the Black Equipment Company right there. And you could see it was broad daylight and a lot going on, just a lot of things. They had to have their employees probably get kind of locked down a little bit and stay away from the crime scene. They had to process the crime scene and whatnot. So we're waiting. Again, I'm just keeping a bird's eye view of everything. So a lot of my friends, okay, let's see what this is. Hold on, let me get to that. I just got something sent to me, so I want to look at it live. Give me a second. Stand by. Just this. All right, so here's a live look in at a feed at the courthouse there. I'm just going to keep it stand by. All right, so they're just waiting here. So I'm going to keep this on in the middle there. So, guys and girls, again, thank you so much, Pat's Cats, for the super chat. Latonia sent me a super chat last night, and I missed it. So, Latonia, if you're here, I apologize for missing that super chat. Again, this is going to be a short press conference, but I'm hoping that we get a little bit of extra information, if you will. I'm hoping and praying that we get a little bit of extra information because, we all want information, right? We're in a day and age of information. And this is a Facebook feed, so it is, good to go. Facebook, you can kind of take a look in. Let's listen to some of the audio that's playing there. And then while they're talking, I'm not going to be saying anything like I did last night. I'm not going to talk or engage with you guys. But when the press conference gets going, I'm gonna keep it quiet so you guys can talk about it, and then you could talk in the chat amongst yourselves, keep it respectful, and then what we'll do is we'll break it down afterwards. So I don't hear any audio from here. They have the audio feed shut off. Sounds like. Let me just double check it. Hold on, I'm gonna just double check on my phone. Yeah, so that feed has the audio cut off. Let's see how this goes. I'll look over to the chat for you. Hi, Nikki Bella. Good to see you. Dawn Marie, thank you for joining. If there's any other news feeds that are on that I should know about, just send it to me on a DM. Any of the folks that are in the chat, anybody that wants to get a live feed to me, just send it to me to the chat. Hold on a second. I'm just looking at some messages. Stand by. Forgive me, guys. I'm just texting somebody. All right. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for that message. Let's look at the chat. So we're waiting for a press conference. There's quite a bit of microphones. There's quite a few microphones there. There's a lot of people, probably reporters, waiting to hear what the sheriff, what the U.S. Marshals. I'd imagine we're going to hear from the U.S. Marshals. We're going to hear from the sheriffs. ABC 17's there. A bunch of news outlets. Hold on a second. Let's see. What do we got? Still no audio here. I'm sure that they have the microphones turned off on this one. So let me go to a little different thing. So again, we may not get all the answers to what we're looking for. Bobby Goff, thank you so much for the super sticker. Much appreciated. Guys, if you're not yet subscribed, I am a retired New York City police detective. I worked in the fugitive enforcement. That's the warrant squad. I threw this shirt on quick today because it's a dry fit. It's kind of comfortable. But it just is it's the unit that I worked for. So fugitive enforcement is what I did for the second half of my career, and that's where we're at. Joining us from an outdoor, beautiful, sunny Utah location is Ed Wallace, a retired New York City police detective from the crime scene unit. We all know and love Ed, and he is remote and mobile because he's teaching today. Ed, how are you, brother?
Hey, how you doing, Ron? Hey, folks, how are you?
All right, so we got Ed Wallace on the stream with us. He is in Utah teaching class, so he probably ran outside, got his headphones hooked up, and wanted to come on. We're waiting the press conference, Ed. I'm going to show it to you on the screen here. So this is what we got. Looks like it's outside of their courthouse, and I'm sure that we're going to hear from the U.S. Marshals. We're going to hear from the local and any federal partners that were involved in this apprehension. Any thoughts on what we're going to hear, Ed? I think we're pretty much right on the money, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I wrote this yesterday in the chat. I think, at least in my part, I gave them too much credit for their planning and execution because they spent 6 days in the Motel 6 in that town um,
Yeah,
in
Evansville.
Indiana.
Yep.
Yeah, and it makes no sense to me whatsoever. If you're on the run, you're going to spend 6 days in that town. I thought they would have had a better plan than that. And and then to leave your parked car, your parked truck in a self-washing bay for 2 days or whatever it was until
Kind
and
of
then
bizarre.
have the owner tow it out of there.
Yeah, the manager who lives across the street saw the truck, and then it was there. He went and dropped his niece or his daughter off at school, came back, it was still there. He called, the sheriff came, they said they couldn't do anything, and then he went in it. The keys were in there. He started it up. He was going to move it, and then he said, "Screw it, I'll get it towed." And then they found a gun lock in the seats, and the sheriff said, "Oh, we better take this." So
Yeah,
again,
but even then, after the sheriff ran it, the owner of the car wash or the manager had it towed
the manager, yeah,
to a
privately.
private lot. It was, I mean, how is it that we were so behind on getting this information out about this missing vehicle? And when I say behind, I
Ed,
mean behind to law enforcement. How is it?
I
You
know
were saying,
it's
Ron?
so critical. It's so critical to get this, all of the evidence from a crucial piece of, a vehicle. This is a crucial piece of the puzzle. If they were on the run and weren't holed up in a hotel and it all didn't play out the way it did, this vehicle could potentially have some really great evidence in it. And again, we could sit here all day and Monday morning quarterback this thing, but the bottom line is we got to do better. That's for sure. I mean, if an abandoned
When
vehicle
was it?
in,
When was this reported stolen? Okay, I mean, it seems like the timeline is all screwed up.
well, Ed, they bought the car legit. It wasn't stolen. That vehicle, that's the
Oh,
thing, is the vehicle inside there was not stolen, but it was certainly tied into them, and they had knowledge because when you heard James say, "Yeah, this has to do with that fellow from Alabama," they said, "Yeah, it does." The U.S. Marshals told them it does, and so that's the thing. The car was bought for $6,000, and it was bought legitimately, either with a alias, with cash, and you know how cash is. Cash is king. So if somebody comes
that's
into
it.
a used car dealer, if you come up with the cash, you could tell them that your name is Ronald Reagan, and they're going to sell the car to you. You know what I mean? They're going to take the cash. Thank you so much.
But
Uh,
when you sell a car, right? When you sell a car, you have to produce a driver's license. You have to produce insurance.
yeah,
I mean, legitimately, if you're going to buy it legitimately, unless this was an illegitimate sale, where they just cash exchange and the used car dealer let them walk out the door with the car.
yeah. The U.S. Marshal said the car was bought. I remember that on the press conference last night. Katie, thank you for the super chat. And she says, "What's Casey's sentence and level of security?" We won't know his sentence until he's arraigned, but his level of security is going to be super astronomically high. That's for sure. So
Well, he
there's
won't be sentenced. He won't be sentenced with anything unless he's convicted in court on the charges they're about to give him.
right. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I meant. They're going to present him with the additional charges. He's already sentenced to 75 years. We know that. He was standing charged with 2 capital murder charges in Alabama. So that was supposed to commence next month in June. So now these additional charges is what he will be charged with. He won't be sentenced on them because, of course, he's got to plead guilty or not guilty. So there's a lot going on here. But right now, what we have to concentrate on is what they got and how this all laid out. Someone asked me, like, "Hey, could you and Ed lay out a timeline?" But we really don't even know what the timeline is because all of it is so all over the place. So I'm hoping that they give us a little clarity here today. I'm not hoping and praying for everything, but we need for them to obviously give us a little bit more. Loretta Garcia, thank you for the super sticker. Ed, I appreciate you taking the time out here to come live with us because everybody loves your thoughts and things like that. But again, I know that you're working, so it was just shows the level of how dedicated you are to this. Ed was like, "Shoot me the link, DutyRon, send it over."
Yeah, I just put the class on a break. they're on their break, and then I'm, going to go back in. So I just want to, I can pop in from time to time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So Tara Wells says, gut feeling. Do you think he killed her? I mean, people were thinking that. It looks like the sheriff's coming out. I see him. I recognize him from yesterday. Let's see what we got.
Well, she was on 911 and speaking to her, and she told the 911 operator she had the gun in her hand and her finger on the trigger.
Yeah, that's for sure. So that's how we that's how I would think this is going to go down. And I have no sound here, so I don't know what's going on with this feed. I'm hoping they turn it on. All right, let me get ready here. I'm going to go full screen, Ed. Actually, we don't need to go full screen. What's with the sound?
It looks like they got some charts.
Pictures, charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the U.S. Marshal.
Yeah, the U.S. Marshal definitely rammed that vehicle with all the front end damage on those trucks. It looks like 3 or 4 of the trucks.
Why don't we have sound? Is what that's concerning to me. Right
I heard that easel drop.
Well, good morning. We'll start.
It's low.
This conference quickly here. Before
can everybody hear this?
Introduce what had happened over the last.
I can barely hear
hours.
it.
I'd like to introduce.
I can hear it good, Ron.
Been involved in this since yesterday, and that's Gabe Guerrero. He's the Great Lakes Task Force Deputy Commander.
Ed, I'm going to mute your mic.
I'm gonna bail out.
Okay. Thank you, Ed.
Lockyer,
Thank you.
Our coroner, Chief Billy Bolin, Assistant Chief Phil Smith.
Let me know in the chat if the sound is good.
Justin Bean, who's part of our task force. As everybody knows, we're here today because we were seeking out this particular fugitive from Alabama who had been in on a capital murder offense and had been in Evansville for approximately 1 week. We were fortunate to have cooperation from law enforcement from Alabama, Mississippi, our U.S. Marshal Task Force, which is comprised of members of the Sheriff's Office, the Indiana State Police, and the Evansville Police Department, and the U.S. Marshal Service. Because of all the resources, we received a lot of tips. We got some good surveillance videos that showed a pickup truck that had been left at a car wash, and then a subsequent vehicle that they took and escaped in from the car wash, which was a Cadillac. We recently found out that they'd been staying at a hotel down the road here. It used to be a Motel 6, and now I think it's changed names, and they had a 14-day stay there. We were fortunate that during our investigation yesterday, an Evansville police officer who was just doing his good diligence of patrolling and being smart noticed the vehicle in the parking lot of the hotel and notified us immediately. So the task force members got together. They drove down there, set up surveillance on the hotel. Soon thereafter, the 2 suspects exited the hotel and fled out of the hotel parking lot northbound on U.S. Highway 41, turned in at an industry known as Anchor here in Evansville. They went through the parking lot, went through a grass field. The members of the U.S. Task Force basically rammed the vehicle and pushed it into a ditch. And we later found out, had they not done that, the fugitive was going to engage in a shootout with law enforcement. So by our quick thinking, our actions, sometimes people may call that unnecessary action, but that action may have saved many of my deputies and fellow law enforcement officers' lives. And that's why I represent the Sheriff's Office. I want to bring my people home, and I don't care about the fugitives' lives if it protects my people's lives. And
Bingo.
Here, I commend them for a job well done. They knew they were going up against a dangerous felon, a murderer, and we have photos of the weapons that were located in the vehicle. There were at least 4 handguns, semi-automatics, 9mm, and this is known as AR-15, which shoots a .223 caliber round. So any one of these weapons could have been used to ambush our officers while they were attempting to capture a murder suspect. So I commend them for the quick and aggressive action. It probably
Wow.
saved a lot of chaos by doing quick action there. Once the vehicle crashed, the female suspect shot herself. The male suspect gave up when we approached the vehicle. They were both taken out of the vehicle. Life-saving measures was attempted on the female, but she suffered a grave injury and subsequently died at the hospital last night. We interviewed the suspect for quite some time. I don't want to get into all the details of that because some of that may be used against him, but we have him presently in our Vanderbilt County Jail. He signed a waiver of extradition to go back to Alabama. I've notified the sheriff there, and they are going to make arrangements to pick the suspect up and return him to the state of Alabama. Due to safety and security measures, we won't be divulging that to you.
I told
It
you.
won't be a public spectacle. When he leaves, he'll go out a hidden exit, and it won't be for public display. So we won't divulge the date and time when the Alabama authorities take the prisoner back to Alabama.
Rightfully so.
Once again, I can't shout out enough praise to all the law enforcement here in our community for the hard work that they do. The task force, I was asked by a member of the media this morning if this was like an odd occurrence, and it's certainly not an odd occurrence. We arrest dangerous felon subjects every single week. We've been involved in multiple shootings in this community. We've shot people, we've been shot at. So this is law enforcement. This is today's law enforcement. It's a very dangerous occupation. So I hope the public realizes what we do is dangerous, and we have to take action to protect ourselves so each and every one of these fine men and women go home to their family and their loved ones, and we don't let the criminal win the war. So I appreciate you being here. That pretty well wraps up what I have to say. We have multiple members here. If anybody wants to add to what I said, you're welcome to do that. Or if anybody has questions they want to ask off this, go ahead. Yes, sir.
2 questions, Sheriff. First of all, we know that Vicky White had $90,000 in cash with her. Have you located that money?
Yeah, we got a photo. They had about $29,000 left over. Here's a picture of the money that was left in the vehicle that we counted last night after we inventoried the vehicles.
And my second question, sir, James, the owner of, or the manager of the car wash who first called police about the truck, will he be receiving the $25,000 reward?
Now, I don't know anything about the reward money.
Is there anyone here who could address that? I mean, it seems like he sort of solved it.
Yeah, and but that would be something that we'll deal with. Right now, that's not on our radar.
Good job, Brian. Good job.
What's that?
How did they get the F-150 and the Cadillac?
They purchased the F-150 and drove it here. And where they got the Cadillac, I'm not sure at this moment.
Do you have any idea what they were doing here for?
Well, I think he said that he was just trying to find a place to hide out and lay low. And they thought, they'd driven long enough that they wanted to stop for a while, get their bearings straight, and then figure out their next place to travel.
Do you get any indication that they were visiting anyone potentially at this hotel?
No, we don't believe they have any relatives, friends, or acquaintances in Evansville, Vanderbilt County.
Is there any dash or body camera video of the incident yesterday?
There may be some dash or body camera video. We haven't got that far yet for examining and releasing that.
What about surveillance from the motel?
And there may be, but like I said, that's a lot further into our investigation.
Sheriff, can you please speak to James Stinson, called apparently on Tuesday to report not only the truck, but also he'd seen images of Casey White with tattoos on his arm. He was told there's nothing we can do right now. It's not reported as a stolen vehicle. Those are his words. Why did it take so long to get a response?
Okay. Well, here, I'll let the police chief answer that.
So I'll back up just a little bit. On May 2nd, we had an officer on the evening of May 2nd proactively driving through lots, and he was running plates just to see if they were stolen. He actually was the first one to run this plate on the evening of May 2nd, and it didn't come back stolen, didn't return anything. On May 4th, we got the call to the car wash, and the first officer went out, and the caller was not on scene when the officer was there. We do have body camera footage of the officer running the plate, looking in the car. He ran the VIN number, and then he left because it was an abandoned vehicle that we can't tow that. It would have to be 48 hours at the owner's request of a place before we can tow it off private property. But the owner of a residence can choose to have it towed on their own. He called back a couple hours later and had not seen the officer on scene. So we sent another officer back out, met with him. The second officer that went out also ran the info and explained the process to him, that we would have to wait 48 hours before we could tow it. But if he wanted to tow it on his own, he could. And that's when they towed the vehicle, was on May 4th after that second run. From everything we've seen, there was no mention that this was connected to Alabama. On the 911 Gives Hope, or 911 audio, there was no mention that it was connected to Alabama. So at that point last week, there was no tie at all to this being involved with anything out of state. There was no mention to it being connected with them. So it was just an abandoned vehicle for us at that point.
Did Casey White explain why he stopped at the car wash?
No, there was no reason. He just happened to pull in there. I think he's going to try to ditch the vehicle there.
Can you clarify the 14-day stay? They were only gone for about 11 days. So you said a 14.
That he had paid for 14 days to stay at the hotel.
He paid in advance?
What's that?
He
Yes,
paid in advance?
yes. Uh-huh.
Sheriff, did he give you any sense of an end game? Did they have somewhere they were headed?
Say that again?
Did he give you any sense of an end game, a place they were headed?
No, they said they were just trying to contemplate where they could go and kind of be discreetly away from the public's eye.
Did they have their disguises? Did they have any disguises with them?
Wigs. They had multiple wigs.
Sheriff, presumably he was in this area since the day. We're in this area presumably since May 3rd, almost a week. What other interactions have you been able to trace? If they were here that long, surely there were other businesses or whatever that they would have.
Well, to that point, just like yesterday, there's hundreds of tips that come in. Someone claims they've seen the suspects, but we've had people claim they saw them in Richmond, Indiana, and we just go through every single tip. But from my standpoint, we've got the case solved. We've got a person deceased, and we have another person in custody headed back to Alabama. That's my concern.
Hey, Sheriff, when we heard that when he was getting pulled out, when he was coming out of the car, he said, "My wife is dead and I didn't do it." Do we know if that's true, and were they married?
They were not married. They shared the same last name. And our preliminary investigation, we don't believe he shot her. But once the coroner examines the body through pathology, he can make a determination of that.
Sheriff, how do you know that he was aiming Casey White to have some sort of violent confrontation with police? Obviously, you showed that arsenal of weapons inside the car. Did he express in your interviews with Casey any desire to do that?
Yes. He said that he was probably going to have a shootout at the stake of both of them losing their lives.
Sheriff, did they have a plan? Were they trying to get somewhere? Obviously, he wanted to escape.
Their plan was pretty faulty. They're criminals. Their plan was faulty, and it failed. Thank God.
Bingo.
Well, no. And once again, what was going through her mind, I have no idea.
Sheriff, did he express how long that relationship had gone on between the two?
And that's under our investigation. We're not going to divulge that right now.
Sheriff, did he express any remorse for her death?
No.
Did you get the sense they were actually doing this together? He was not forcing her in any way.
Right. No, he was not forcing her. It was a mutual relationship.
Sheriff, can you clarify
Wow.
where she shot herself?
Well, we'll let the coroner talk about that after the pathology this afternoon.
When is that coroner's report expected?
Well, we think this afternoon.
Well, we're going to initiate this.
Yeah. The autopsy will be conducted this afternoon, and they'll put a report out when they're ready.
Hey, Sheriff, if you don't know how they got the Cadillac, how did you guys know to look for a Cadillac?
No, we saw the Cadillac in surveillance video at the time they ditched the pickup truck, and then they left in the Cadillac.
Is he cooperating in what he's facing in charges here?
Hey, Ed.
We're not going to charge him here. He has much more serious charges in Alabama, and we want to get him down there and let them take care of that.
Were any drugs found, Sheriff?
We haven't found any drugs of any significance.
Brian asked what I was said.
Sheriff, you run a jail. How do you
What's that?
I asked if there was any drugs found. And then, he should follow up and see if
Well,
any
it's
did any officer see her
certainly
shoot
unpleasant
herself.
thought. It's kind of shocking that somebody
any-
would do that. But remember, they're human beings, that they have their own minds, and for whatever reason, that they've developed some type of relationship, and so it's startling. But you know, they're humans, make mistakes.
Sheriff, how many law enforcement vehicles were damaged?
Maybe 3 at
Did
most.
they get their guns?
Small price to pay to
Yeah, they
stop a
showed them.
murderer. Just one had
All
a
of them?
slight head injury from banging his head inside the vehicle, but he's okay now.
Where did she get the gun that she used on herself?
What's that?
Where did she get the gun that she used?
Well, I have no idea. If we should have had one from our agency, they could have stolen some, they could have bought some, and that's where we're got to piece all together. If you want to look, here's the
Here we go.
pictures of the vehicle. Here's her.
Come on, turn it.
Her vehicle here, and this was a ditch that really nobody knew, including the suspects. But this ditch actually helped us in the pursuit.
Yeah.
Because as they forcibly rammed the vehicle, it turned over on its side, and that disrupted his plan to try to have a shootout with law enforcement. And he even made that statement.
Like, oh shit, I didn't see that ditch.
Mm-hmm. So all 4 of those trucks hit them.
He said 3 total. He said 3 were injured, damaged.
Right.
Well, yeah, remember, in law enforcement, you can be a town like in Posey County where a deputy was shot in the head. You can be in New York City. You can be in Evansville, Indiana. Crime's everywhere.
We say it all the time.
Unexpected crime, violent crime is everywhere. So we never go to work thinking we're not going to encounter an unusual or serious situation. I said our task force members routinely go out and arrest violent felons.
Crime knows no boundaries.
Get shot at, and they get attacked, and they get resisted. We get involved in pursuits. We're in a very dangerous occupation. And Evansville, Indiana is a fairly large community. I think people forget that. We're 180,000 people, and we're a hub of a very large demographic area. So we serve a population base of over 350,000 people. And it's conducive for criminal activity. And we have to prepare for that every single day.
Sheriff, do you know anything about the provenance of any of those weapons? Is it possible that any of them were part of her service as a corrections officer?
It could be, but right now we will continue our investigation, but that's the least of my worries at this time. But we will try to find an origin for each and every one of these weapons.
He asked if those guns came from the jail, from her official capacity.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get into the interview with the detectives.
Thank you, Dr. Ed.
Well, she supposedly maybe sold a home before she left town and got a large sum of money from that. Was there what?
Any negotiations? Did you have any communication before she shot?
I think she may have had a little bit of communication with our dispatch, possibly. I wasn't aware of it 100%, but I think she may have been talking to our dispatch.
Sheriff, is that a police ordered issued taser there in that photo?
That's from her duty belt. This is her duty belt she wore as a confinement officer, correction officer in her home state of Alabama.
Taser.
Hey, Sheriff,
She just took that with her when she left.
And were those in the hotel room or the car? The guns.
In the car? In the car. They were in the vehicle.
All of that in the vehicle.
after you got the initial video at the car wash, what was the indication? How did you guys figure out that they were still maybe in the area?
Well, it was a long, drawn-out process, like the police chief said. It's just bits and pieces of information kept coming in and tying things together. And it wasn't until over the weekend where it looked like more of a possibility that they had been here for sure. And once again, after 6 days, it was just hard to believe they were here. I wouldn't think somebody on the run would stay in a community like Evansville for 6 days. But we brought the resources in and continued our investigation based on the information we had.
As far as in the jail right now, is he being held in the general population or?
No, he's just in a holding area.
Now, they were at the hotel for quite a long time. Is there any indication at all that maybe the clerk or someone who works there knew it was them? I mean, this is a nationwide statewide manhunt? Could they possibly just arrest him?
Well, I mean, we don't have any reason to believe that right now. But once again, we're less than 24 hours in this investigation. We have a lot more of the puzzle put together.
How many days was it surveillance at the hotel?
Just yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. A very short window of time.
Was Casey White injured yesterday?
He had a couple of bumps and bruises from the crash.
Sheriff, can you confirm that there was a Facebook video that was circulating that had the side angle of the arrest actually taking place? Can you confirm that it was Casey White in that video?
I haven't seen the video, but Casey White was at the scene. So
He
you
said
got
there
that
was
for sure.
video on Facebook of him actually getting placed under arrest.
Possibly, yeah.
Sheriff, what was the approximate time after the crash that Vicki shot herself?
I think it was almost instantaneously.
Kachara, I agree.
Before our deputies and task force members got to the vehicle, she shot herself.
I know you said it used to be a Motel 6. The actual name of the hotel.
Yeah, I got it written down here. So. Motel 41.
Is that nearby?
Yes, probably less than a mile south of here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. To the left. I'm sorry.
Was that F-153
She had bought that vehicle. Yes.
or Alabama?
I don't know where she may have bought it in the state of Tennessee. I'm not sure.
But did she die? Did she purchase it ahead of the escape? Like
No, I think after.
Sorry, the marshal said that car was actually purchased by Casey White for $6,000 in Tennessee, same day they escaped. Is that not accurate?
That's probably accurate.
Sheriff, can we see a hold the shot of Casey one more time?
It's all right. Everybody
That's
okay
the
with
booking
that?
photo. That's the booking photo. I showed that before we started.
And I know you've asked a lot of questions, and as the sheriff, I think they're good media-related questions, but we're trying to take dangerous people off the street, and so a lot of the where they bought the car and where they did this and that is a minor concern versus us getting them off the street and making our community safe. Now,
Agreed.
this investigation will go on maybe for weeks, and we will uncover things in the future that we don't have at this time. But like you said, we're less than 24 hours from the time that we were involved in pursuit and a serious crash and somebody losing their life.
Sheriff, which agencies are involved in the investigation at this point?
Several. We have the United States Marshal, the Indiana State Police, the Evansville Police Department, the Vanderbilt County Sheriff's Office, many members of law enforcement from Alabama, Mississippi, some members of the FBI, and probably agencies in between. So there's plenty of agencies involved.
Sheriff, as someone in law enforcement or any of the people behind you who are involved in law enforcement, in your mind, what about her assistance in this 17-year veteran of a corrections facility? How did that assist? How did that help this take so long?
I'm not understanding your question.
As someone involved in law enforcement, Vicky White had a 17-year-long career as a corrections officer. Presumably, that had something to do with why it took so long, over a week, 11 days, for this to come to an end. I'm asking, with her expertise, that contributed and how?
No, that has absolutely no merit to what went on. Zero.
Sheriff, I'm sorry. The photos that you're releasing today, are they going to be posted on your Facebook page or?
We'll have photos available for media later. Yes.
I'm surprised the marshals are not
Does
talking.
anybody else need comment? Anybody have anything you want to say? Or anybody have any questions of the other law enforcement leaders here?
Huh? U.S. Marshal said no.
No, not to see the vehicle in person, no. What's that?
I'm surprised they didn't say anything.
Yeah, he nodded his head and said, "No,
I
that's
don't know
him straight behind him."
If we
Yeah.
do, we can maybe release that. That's not a big deal. It's a wig, a standard wig.
I'm shocked.
This? Oh yeah, sure. You guys want to take those over there?
Those are pictures of the money.
Did I hear that correct? They spent 60 grand?
I think there was
Yes.
multiple wigs, kind of maybe reddish and blonde. Yeah, you wouldn't look good in it.
Oh. Red and blonde wigs. Why would you buy a blonde wig?
Well, we thank you. If anybody needs any other questions from anybody, everybody will be mingling around for a while. And once again, keep in mind, less than 24 hours. There's a lot of questions that won't be answered until we have a much deeper investigation, get all of our notes and material together. And we also have privileged information that we can't share. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheriff.
Huh. I thought we would have got more there. Just going to listen. See. All right, I'm going to go to Brian Enton and see what he's got coverage wise. Ed, I mean, surprising that we didn't get more from them. I was hoping that the U.S. Marshals would speak about a little bit about their investigation and what role they played in actually apprehending him, and were they on to the state of Indiana, or was the car wash guy what was the end all, here in this investigation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It really just surprising.
So out of the $90,000 she withdrew, they spent 60 grand, and most of that were the 3 vehicles.
Yeah. Well, those were not. It was the pickup truck that we saw at the car wash was a nice vehicle. The first one was a piece of crap. In the Cadillac, I couldn't really tell what condition it was in because it was obliterated. With the. I want to just see if Anton is he. I'm glad I didn't show his press conference because he streamed it on Twitter and it was all pixelated. So I'm glad that we didn't select that. But he asked some good questions. Nobody asked them if there was drugs recovered inside the vehicle. I know that's insignificant, but we got that they were in a motel. He paid for 14 days. So he paid 14 days. They stayed 12. Motel 41. They confirmed that she shot herself pending autopsy. And Ed, you and I were going to get into that. Could you just tell some of the people, because that is one sticking point that I got a lot of messages overnight. Can you just tell the audience here how they will determine that she shot herself? I know this is right up your alley.
Okay, so depending on what's her strong hand? What hand was she holding the gun? Is she right-handed? Is she left-handed? Okay, does that correlate to the entrance wound? Okay, so if she's left-handed, I believe she's right-handed, but if she's right-handed, then typically a right-handed person would grab the gun and then if she shot herself in the temple, we don't know where in the head she shot herself, but normally it would be the right side of the face, or if she stuck the gun in her mouth. We don't know any of those details, but it was in the head. So let's say right temple. Now, depending on the distance the barrel was away from the skin, there could be forensic evidence called stippling, which is burnt and unburnt gunpowder that exit the barrel with the soot and then embeds itself in the skin and creates what we call tattooing. Now, if that gun is contact to the skull, typically what ends up happening is that when the gases come out of the barrel of the firearm, many of the gases get trapped between the skin and the skull, and the gases will then blow backwards and create a star type entrance wound in the skin. Okay, there will be soot and burning on the bone and going through the path of the bullet. Also, what occurs is what we call back spatter from blood. Okay, and if the gun was a distance, not in contact, but a small distance away from the skull at the time it was fired, then blood will blow backwards towards the gun, even get sucked down the barrel of the gun, and on the sides of the gun, the trigger hand can sometimes receive blood. And so now, since if he's the passenger, he could also shoot her in the right side of the head as well. But if he was in possession of that firearm, But given the 911 tapes, I don't know. I find that kind of unlikely.
She said she had her finger on the trigger. And I'm wondering if any of the responding law enforcement on the scene, once the car was on its side, did they have a view? I would think nobody got anywhere close to it because they're dangerous. They're armed. They knew that they had some firepower there. For safety reasons, no officer is going to go up and say, "Oh, let me get a bird's eye view of what she's doing." So I'm thinking, time plus distance equals safety here, right? So
Yeah,
I don't
time,
think
distance,
anybody.
and shielding.
Yeah, I don't think anybody witnessed her with one of these handguns. And it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 handguns,
Yeah, the
one
Glock.
AR,
Yeah,
and it looks like, where's the shotgun? Didn't she have a shotgun?
yeah. I don't see the shotgun. This is what was just taken out of the car, and there's the plate number. Looks like the bottom one is definitely a Glock. This looks like a Taurus, but I'm not sure about the other makes. But this is definitely. I'm not sure if this was what you saw the officer taking out because it might have been his heavy arm, his heavy weapons. Remember last night you said, "What's that?" He was putting one in the trunk, but it
Right,
could
he
have
was
been.
putting one in the truck. It could have been the officer's own
Yeah,
issued M4.
Her taser's still on her gun belt. This looks like an
Duty belt.
off-duty.
Can you scroll down on that picture? Let's see where the holster is. And okay, so holster right side. Okay,
Yeah.
so right-handed.
So yeah, that's confirmed right there, right-handed. She's even got her belt. The belt keeper still on it up here at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's right-handed. So that the autopsy will show, gun up to the right head. We don't know if she put it in her mouth. Nobody knows, but the forensics will tell. And when the autopsy is complete, they're supposed to start it today at 5 p.m. I'll reach out and ask Barbara Butcher about the coroner's office there and what kind of capacity they have. I think it'll be quick. We'll get
The
some
officers on
results.
scene should have heard the number of shots that were fired. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I know there was initial reports that he had sustained a graze wound, but then I didn't hear it in the press conference.
Correct.
About the graze wound again to him. Now, if he's sitting in the right seat, and now, if I remember correctly, the vehicle, the way it was flipped. Can you go back to a photo of the trucks in the vehicle?
So absolutely. Hold on a second. The trucks in the vehicle. I don't think he had that on.
The trucks that at the scene in the vehicle.
Why am I not seeing that now? Hold on a second. I'm just looking at all the media that he's got. And
Go back to that video.
Which
you had it in that video. That
okay,
right there. It's going to come in here. Can you zoom that in? There it is. Okay, so it's resting on the passenger side. So she's the driver's side, so that would be up.
Yeah.
So she would be, if the seatbelt is on, she would be leaning to the passenger side.
Yeah.
And if the position that when the shots were fired, if that bullet exited her head, there's also what we call, forward spatter from the bullet. And based upon the position of the forward spatter and any other ballistic damage, because if that bullet exited, blood is going to follow it. And we can kind of pinpoint in the vehicle in 3 dimensions where her head was at the time that bullet exited her head.
So there will be no when they're done with this, there will be no doubt of, because people are already talking and saying that Casey White shot her. How do we know that he didn't shoot her? But once all of the medical and the science is done on it, as you spoke here just now, it'll be clear and concise. There'll be no there'll be nowhere for this to go. Thank you, Paul K, for the $5. According to some reports of the 90 grand she received, she paid 75 of the mortgage and had good savings. So yeah, we don't know what she owed on that home. So out of that 95, what did she really come out with? That's a good thing right there. That's actually a good message. So thank you, Paul K, for that. You know, most people don't own their homes straight out, you know, so she could have had some leftover mortgage. We were forgetting about that. So maybe she didn't come out with 90K. Maybe she only had 45,000 on her. But they're saying that they spent 29,000 in that short period of time. But Ed, you gave some great information in regards to, you know, what they could do forensically and figure out things. And I think that's a great help for people that are listening here. You know, you're going to hear a lot of people that are going to give you their thoughts and feelings. But this is coming from someone who worked in the medical examiner's office. Ed has lots of experience in this, guys. So this is valuable information, and it's good information because it won't have you going down these rabbit holes. You won't get sucked down into those conspiracy theories because this is a science. And as you just heard Ed say, they will be able to figure it out based on the evidence, based on what is, how do you usually say it? Post-mortem, right?
Post-mortem examination, yeah.
Yeah. So
and they'll get a trajectory. They'll get a trajectory through the skull of a bullet entrance and bullet exit. And again, it should be all line up with the blood stain patterns that are in there from the forward blood spatter, the back spatter, and all of that should fix her position in the vehicle at the time the shot was taken, and and also on her hand. Like I said, if she's pulling the trigger, depending on how close in proximity the muzzle of the barrel is to the skull, if that back spatter comes back, more often than not, blood goes on to the fingers of the shooter through the trigger guard and so forth. And you might see that if that's there, then it's a key indication she pulled the trigger. Also, gunshot residue. Gunshot residue may be on her hand if her hand was not manipulated in such a way to transfer it there from somebody else.
Fiber Fusi, thank you for the super chat. She says, my guess is she had a gun and was trying to take them both out on purpose. Much love to you both. Thank you, Fiber Fusi. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but so the way that car was on the side, the driver, she's driving. We know for a fact that that Vicky White was driving. Casey White's in the passenger seat. He's probably crammed and stuck because of the law of averages, right? The car's on its side. So she's
gravity, yeah. He's down there in the gully.
So if she even does it this way or whatever, they had to have been right on top of each other, pretty much pancaked. So
well, if they're wearing seatbelts, if she's wearing seatbelts, she's stuck in her seat and she's leaning. Right. Her center of gravity is the waist, so she's leaning towards the passenger side of the car. So her head is going to be downward. Her whole upper body is going to be downward. Okay. So, I mean, again, we got to see where the entrance is and where the exit is on the ballistic damage to the skull. So
if she was righty, she's her hands up against his. Maybe she had the gun out already as she was driving. Maybe she had it in her lap. Or
I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt it.
Tuck like how we used to drive in East New York. I go into work in the 7.5 in Brownsville. I used to keep it off out of my holster, tucked underneath my underneath my leg. So she might have had it out and just pulled it out and then just said, you know what, F it. You know, I'm not going to jail, and just did it. But it was just surprising for me that they said last night that he had fragment or graze wound. That was the words that the word that the police chief used last night.
Yeah, and now that might be a misdiagnosis.
Right. You know, it might have just been he might have just hit his head against the side of the glass and he was bleeding, and they might have thought that he got shot. Olivia Barry, thank you
with all the glass that's flying around.
Yeah, thank you for the super chat. What did they spend 60 grand on? We know of 3 vehicles as of now, 3 vehicles, and a 14 night honeymoon stay at Motel 41, and then whatever else they bought along the way. Who knows? Methamphetamines.
Hey,
yes.
Ron, I'm going to bail.
Okay, Ed. Thank you for your insight, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
There goes Ed Wallace, everybody. All right, so that's what we have going on here, folks. This is the vehicle on the side. She was confirmed the driver. We heard them confirm. Let me just go over some of my notes that I have from the press conference. U.S. Marshals, they rammed the vehicle into the ravine. It looked like there was 2 or 3 vehicles. Casey White was going to get into a shootout if he wasn't apprehended. He stated this to them. They said he paid for 14 days. They didn't say she paid. They said he paid for 14 days stay at the Motel 41. They had 4 handguns, an AR-15, and it's confirmed that she shot herself by police at this time. Just to wrap, they interviewed him for hours. He was cooperative, which is surprising. Maybe he's trying to get something. The Vanderburgh County Jail is where he is. He signed his waiver of extradition. I said last night that he was going to sign. He signed the waiver of extradition. Sheriff thanked the public. They spent $29,000 or had $29,000 left over. The car was not reported stolen May 3rd or May 4th when the body cam footage, which we'll eventually see that body cam footage. Tips came in and surveillance videos from the car wash. We got to thank James, who is the hero of the day. He said, if you see something, say something. Motel 6 was the original name. Evansville police officers noticed yesterday the car matching the description of the Cadillac from the information they received from the car wash. And when they saw that vehicle, he radioed it in, and that's what got the ball rolling, ladies and gentlemen. So kudos to a police officer, but James is the hero here. And I say that hands down, wholeheartedly, 100%. No, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. The reason that the sheriff in Indiana said we don't know about the reward money is because he's not in charge of the reward money. That reward money was, if you remember, the Fort Lauderdale. The Lauderdale County District Attorney made a press conference and they upgraded the reward money to, remember, $15,000 for Casey White and $10,000 for Vicky White. Who here in the chat remembers that district attorney saying that they upped the award money? The award money. That award money is going to be delved out by them. So again, I want to show the hero of the day. This is the guy. This is James and Brian Enton. So there he is, and he showed Brian some video footage. I'm going to go to the next image. He showed Brian the image. These are the images that he shared with the U.S. Marshals.
So that's the truck.
Yep, it's definitely the truck. See the Tennessee plates?
That's at the car wash.
See how it's sticking out today? That's what
last Tuesday.
I always come over and when I see.
Can you play it with him walking out again?
Yeah. I'm not sure. Let's see.
This guy's the
there he
hero.
is right there. He's standing in between the doors. He's fooling with the gun right there. I think he's taking a leak at first when I seen this, but I see him sticking in his waistband.
He's putting a gun in his waistband.
He's looking around suspicious.
Yeah. Don't you think that's suspicious?
And that guy was armed and dangerous, man.
When he walks this way, is when I seen that tattoo on his arm.
Let me know in the chat by a show of hands who feels he solved this case.
And he's only got tattoos on one arm.
Let me know by putting a 1 in the chat if you feel James solved this case. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he worked hand in hand with law enforcement. I put a 1 in the chat all day, every day. If it wasn't for this guy noticing this and making the notification, this thing, they could have been gone. Yeah. And thank you to Brian Enton for this information.
So what do you think he's doing there? Still messing with the gun?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Probably loaded.
Here he comes.
And that's the picture we
I
saw.
say he's gonna walk that way to see if he's coming yet.
It's the picture we saw of him in that pink top. He's looking around, very suspicious looking. And then we're going to see him come to the back of the truck, and that's the picture that we saw.
Look at his arm right there. That's one.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a gun right on his actually on his left side. Hold on, let me go back to that. Let's go back to this. Oh, yeah, he's got it on both sides. You can see he's got two guns on him. One on the left and one on the right. That's what took so long. So if you look here, and he is, see how he's keeping his arm straight down? He might have that AR-15 tucked in his side. That could fit. The butt of it could go up here, and the barrel could be right down here. And you see how when people favor their sides and are holding their hand tight to their body, that's a sign that someone's carrying a weapon. Yeah, he's holding it right there with his right hand, with the tattoo hand. That's classic. I've seen that many times.
Look at his.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt. I want to look at this again because I want to see this. Oh, yeah. He's holding it with his right hand. And it looks like he's holding his left side, too. Yeah, he's strapped there. If somebody was to stop him, the police officers to stop him right there, that would be, oh, my God. So this could have really ended bad, folks. This could have ended really bad, and I'm thankful that it didn't. Yeah. So he was definitely holding. He was definitely packing both sides, and I've seen this many times. Let's see. I'll give you a look one more time at this full screen. He's keeping that right hand tight to his leg so it doesn't fall down. It's probably just shoved in there. And that's what took him so long here, adjusting things back here. You see him going in and out of the car, and he's strapping up. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Probably low.
Oh, here he comes.
Now, see, he's going to walk that way to see if he's coming yet.
Looking around.
Then he's going to walk back in there and shut the other door.
You see how he looked around?
Then he's going to walk toward us. Look at his arm right there. That's when I knew it was him. See that tattoo and none on that one arm? Now, you can see him in the tailgate.
Yeah.
He's going to walk.
Yeah, he's sitting there in the tailgate. He's just watching out the back. Wow.
Right here in a minute. He's probably going to need him out.
Yeah, and they just dumped the truck and left it there. All right, guys, if you're not yet subscribed to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon when I go live or upload another video. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all one word, DutyRon. And we are now on TikTok. So if you're TikTok savvy, go over to TikTok and search DutyRon, and all of these little small clips from all of the videos that we do are uploaded onto TikTok. So thank you to the replay viewers, the channel members, everyone who has given super chats. This is concluding the Casey White news conference today in Evansville, Indiana. I want to thank everybody who has positively engaged. And again, the moderators, the replay viewers, the new subscribers, I love and appreciate you guys. If you like all things true crime from a police perspective, please consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting that notification bell. And if you're here now, please give the thumbs up and let's get that algorithm out there. Share the video, like the video, and subscribe. Thank you so much from Crime Time with DutyRon. May God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. but especially all victims of crime and their family. They need us now more than ever, and let's say thanks to James and the general public who called in the tips to make Casey White and Vicky White taken into custody without further loss of life. And we say prayers to Vicky White's mom for the loss of her daughter. It's really, really a shame the way this all went down. And I thank each and every one of you. God bless, and I'll see you on the next live. Thank you.